Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another movie review. Thanksgiving week. I think this is kind of perfect timing. And me and DJ Sue here are going to be talking about a little movie called Queen and Slim.
Can we just get right into this? Because I got several questions.
So here's the thing. So this is going to be one of those movies that most people are going to be like, oh man, this is my whole. This was I was highly anticipated about this movie. I'll say this: as a movie, it's fine. You'll definitely enjoy it. I had gripes with the movie on a couple things. Now, before we get into the main plot and stuff, I'll say this about the movie. The movie overall, it's a fine movie, but I feel the movie was more concerned about building the mythology of what these two characters represented than actually telling a story. Like, most movies can tell a story about two characters that build a mythology for themselves and actually stick the landing on the story. I feel in this instance they focus too much on the mythology of what these two characters did and what it represents than actually telling a coherent story.
I get what you're saying. Basically, like, from my understanding, especially when you watch the trailer, like, the trailer puts it into your mind that, okay, this is going to be like a black, on the lam, on the run type of
Bonnie
film.
And Clyde, but it's
Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma and Louise type of thing. You thinking that this is what this movie. The trailer makes you think that this is what this movie is going to be about. Mm-hmm. Little do you know that going into this movie that there was a message, a big message. I mean, we're talking gunshot in the face message that it was that blatant. This movie was this movie was telling us something, and it disguised it very well in the trailer. Mm-hmm. But then when you actually see the movie, we're like, yeah. By the time you get towards it, you're like, all right, I'm waiting for it. Go ahead and give it to me.
Yeah. It's kind of like you get to the end and you're like, like
I know something's coming.
Yeah, the other shoe was going to drop kind of thing. Like, okay, so the basic premise goes like this, and I think this kind of shows where the strength of the movie lies. So Daniel Kaluuya is playing Slim, and Jodie Turner-Smith is playing Queen. Clearly, you know who Daniel Kaluuya is. Get Out.
Black Panther.
Black Panther and stuff. Jodie Turner-Smith. I actually watched this show on TNT called The Last Ship. It was actually a pretty interesting show. She was in that. So that was the only thing I've really seen her in. So this is like maybe the second thing I've seen her in. But she plays Queen, and they're two people who they meet through Tinder. And off the break, the movie automatically kind of grabs your attention because their conversation and stuff is like, I've been in that kind of conversation. They're on a blind date. They're talking about, you can clearly see that they have different, basically that whole table scene at the beginning of the movie with them on a date tells you everything you need to know about both characters.
Yeah, that they both come from like two completely different backgrounds.
Yeah, like Slim, he's very religious. He has a family that loves him, and he has a very normal family life for the most part. Like, it doesn't seem like he has a worry, so to speak.
Yeah, these are two people that couldn't be any more opposite from each other.
And Queen, clearly she has a troubled background, and what was great about her is like the way she, like, Jodie kind of captures the character off break is that she's very standoffish. And granted, that's how it is with blind dates anyways. Like, you're trying to feel each other out, so to speak. But also there's clearly something that's on her mind. She's a legal attorney, and she's also dealing with family stuff too. So it's like off the break, they're both there. But then like the first 10 minutes of the movie, they're starting to loosen up and stuff. And as they're getting to know each other, they get pulled over by a cop due to him swerving because he was snatching his phone from her and stuff. And the cop, per usual, goes 0 to 100 and nicks Queen, and Slim ends up shooting him, and thus starts them going on the run.
Yeah, we get all this within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Now, I will applaud the movie for doing that, for giving us, like 0 to 60 in the first 10 minutes, and we just get right into it. There's no, there's no like insane amount of build up or anything like that. It's just hey, get to know these guys, like get to know the characters, speed run it real quick, boom, enter the plot, and sit back and enjoy the ride.
'Cause even the circumstances with the cop, it definitely hits home, especially if you're a black person, minority. Period. It hits home big time.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I mean, we've seen all this. We've seen all this before between this movie, Just Mercy.
Yeah.
Shoot, any black film that involves a cop. The Hate You Give. Any black film that involves the police. Dealing with the circumstances, especially stuff that we're still dealing with today. Oh, you're gonna feel right at home. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and during the course of the journey, like that's what I said, it's like the trailers, like Sue said, they give you off the vibe of a Bonnie and Clyde, but it really isn't, and that's where it goes into what I was saying, that the film is more like these characters, they're getting to know each other while on the run and trying to figure out their circumstances and what they can do, because clearly the option of staying with the police isn't going to bode well, so they have to go on the run.
One of the things that I kind of pointed out was, what, throughout this movie's what, an hour and a half, hour 45, something like that.
No, so just about.
Throughout the movie's entire timeline, I'm thinking to myself, you know what, these two have gone
132 minutes, so about 2 hours.
Okay, so about 2 hours, but these characters have gone through probably, I don't know if I want to call it just straight up blessings left and right, or like the dumbest of dumb luck ever.
I would say it's a combination of both, because there's moments where, like, clearly what they do, it divides certain people, and they come across a variety of people that, feel some sort of way about what they did, despite how that situation unfolded with the cop. And there's others that like, hey, we understand why that situation happened the way it happened. Hey, you do what you gotta do. Get the hell out of Dodge, right? And some of it is for comedic moments, which we get at least 2 comedic moments where they have their interactions with black folks, and there's others that's very tense and very dramatic, and it works. But like I said, this isn't spoiling the movie. What I mean by plot points, though, I'll just mention the one. So they come across a kid at one point, and it's a very touching moment because the kid, just like a teenager, he's infatuated by like these two, just like everybody else is. And I'll just say this, the kid's infatuation, it goes in a direction that is juxtaposed to another scene, and it just made no sense.
Yeah, especially when you have a scene like this and it's being intertwined with another scene, and I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, how are these two related?
Yeah, because most times you put that kind of scene together and stuff, there's some sort of symbolism or something, right? And I'm sitting there like, am I missing some symbolism? And I remember looking over to you, and you had a look in your face like, I don't know what the hell is, like, what is this? Like,
Yeah, because I'm trying to follow one thing, but this other thing is happening at the same time. And I'm thinking, okay, is the movie trying to get us to just focus on one thing, but you got this other thing happening, which is very tense, very serious, but this is happening. Like, I don't know how to feel about this because you got 2 different emotions going on at the same time.
Like, one emotion makes sense. Well, it's funny. Both emotions make sense. It's just one, the trajectory of where it went made no goddamn sense. And the other, it made sense because of what the circumstances of what was happening, right? So it was just when you try to juxtapose both, it doesn't work. And I think even if you made it separate, that scene still was fucking confusing as shit, because I'm like, what the hell was, what?
I mean, I always felt like that one scene that took place, like, between the two, one of these scenes should have taken place like way later in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, let that come way later. Did this really need to come at the same time? Was there not enough time in the movie that you had to like put the two together? That was probably my only gripe. On the lighter side of things, we get we get Bokeem Woodbine, who showed up in the trailer, and I'm thinking, I wonder how big of a role is he going to have. And as we watch the movie, he has a very decent size. I would say a very decent sized role in the film. But good Lord, did he nearly steal this movie from everybody because there's so many comedic moments with just him that he is so unintentionally funny.
Well, you forget. Like, I think people forget, and I think all three of us. I think when we were talking about Jason's lyric, and you should probably listen to that show, guys. And also listen to the Waist Deep podcast because the correlation between Waist Deep and Queen and Slim, I'll explain the correlation in a minute. But I think we were talking about that in Jason's lyric in the podcast for that, where I think all three of us agreed that ultimately, despite the movies, some of the movies that Bokeem Woodbine's in, he's a great actor.
Oh, he's a very good actor.
And he's good in this. Like, he does some goofy stuff, but it's in line with the character and Bokeem Woodbine. It's kind of hard for me to see anybody that would play it up like that. And it's like, okay, Bokeem, that fits him. That fits his big time. So you have that. Like I said, the characters, like I said, at the end of the day, Slim and Queen, there are like the two that keeps it going because you are attached to them and their growth. Because like I said, you're following their growth over the course of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was saying the comparison to Waist Deep, right? We did a podcast for Waist Deep. I felt Waist Deep was trying to have their cake and eat it too, where that movie clearly was Bonnie and Clyde through and through, right?
Yeah, it was.
But I also felt that movie was trying to have its super serious moment where Tyrese and Megan Good was trying to really act like they were in some sort of Oscar movie. I'm like, no, guys, this is not the movie you do that. No.
It's like, why are you doing this?
No. And I feel Queen and Slim is the polar opposite of a Bonnie Clyde Waist Deep movie because, like you said, the trailer gives off the vibe of, oh, this is Waist Deep. They're going to be going doing this. And then you watch the movie, it's like, oh, it's not really like that.
Well, no, see, with Waist Deep's plot point was they had to get money to to get Tyrese's kid back.
But the circumstances were still Bonnie and Clyde-ish. They're out there robbing.
It was Bonnie and Clyde where it was Bonnie and Clyde of them having to rob banks, but they weren't just robbing banks. They were robbing the banks that belonged to the gangster of that film.
Well, we didn't know that from the trailer at the time, though. It just made it.
Yeah, and you didn't know it from the trailer until you actually watch it and you see it. And I'm like, okay, cool. At least they're not going in and just robbing like just straight up innocent banks. They going after the ones and not just going after the ones belonging to the main bad guy, but they are going after his money like 100%, which is fine. In this movie, there really isn't any of that. There is no them like trying to go from bank to bank robbing and doing nothing like that. These two are literally trying to get out of the country and quietly.
Yeah, they're just living to survive essentially.
But let's put it and let's also look at it like this. If this was, let's see. If this was 20 years ago, you could try to get away with something like this. Fast forward to today, where everybody and their mama's got a camera and social media being as big as it is. Oh, dude, you ain't going nowhere without somebody knowing who you are. I don't care how much you try to disguise yourself or change yourself up. You ain't getting away clean.
Oh yeah, this movie definitely shows a different perspective because, like, unlike a Thelma and Louise, where it was just a case of hopefully people don't see us because, hey, unless they're on a TV and stuff, nobody's going to really see you on a cell phone unless you actively going out your way. This one does provide another ante up in terms of, social media playing a part. Because social media and all that stuff plays a part because after that whole situation, within like couple of hours in the movie time of it happening, boom, they're already on TV. The cop footage is already on TV, and everybody already knows who they are, straight up.
Yep.
And it provides another era of tension, like, okay, where are they going? How are they going to get through this? How are they going to get through scenarios? And there's a lot of scenarios where there is some tension there, right? But like I said, other than the two plot points, the movie's fine. It's just your miles are going to vary greatly on these two plot points. So you're either going to A, just kind of come away with like, or B, you're going to be like, all right, it's not bad. Or C, you might just be like, all right, it's actually a really good movie despite that. So your mind's going to vary on these two plot points when you see it. But overall, besides the acting, right, because that's always great, cinematography was dope.
Oh, yeah. There was some really, really nice shots. I mean, very, very, very good work.
They're in a club at one point, and it was shot just like if you're in a club, like that southern kind of club vibe. Off rip.
Like it was a straight up juke joint.
Oh yeah, it was juke joint. They shot it very well. It wasn't too dark. It wasn't too light. It was just right.
Yeah.
And even like
One of
even
my
some. Oh yeah,
one
go
of
ahead.
my one of my other favorite shots in the movie was was the gas station scene.
Which one? I'm trying to. Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Hold on. Okay, without spoiling, I'm just gonna say the gas station scene with the gun.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that was actually pretty great because they do like a lot of the shots is great because like at one point he's walking into the store and you get the point of view of her in the truck and she does something small in the truck where she's like mumbling to herself just on some like she's worried kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was it. I like those little moments that they put in the movie, just kind of like you see him walking in, but we also see like her reaction to what's happening, kind of thing. And I like that. It's actually pretty cool. Whether it's and even him when she's talking to somebody, like she's talking to the mechanic at one point, and you see him kind of pacing back and forth in the background.
Yep.
Yeah, so those little things you definitely enjoy for the most part. The music was good too. I like the music. But yeah, like I said, it's very stylish. I mean, they wanted to be provocative. Well, there you go. This is probably a pretty provocative movie, but like I said, the two plot points, I really think people might feel some sort of way about it and stuff. I mean, like it took me a minute to really think about it, and I was like, all right, I didn't hate it, but it's like, they could have did something different.
They could have, but then I always feel like if they did try to do something different, it's gonna give me waist deep vibes.
No, you could do it in a way that it doesn't give that vibe, but I get it, and I think
It would have been tricky.
yeah, it would have been very tricky. Like you have to do it in a way that's like, all right, that works. That's cool. That works and stuff. And I know, but most people are like, you compared it to
like,
waist deep. It's like, no, it's just on a basic level. We can compare it in that way a little bit.
Yeah. Like just certain things, like to do what I would want to be done, it would be tricky because number one, you would have to put it together. Number two, it would have to be believable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a movie that, and that's another thing that works for the movie too. We're talking about the characters. You actually bought their relationship in the way it unfolded.
Yeah,
it wasn't just like, oh, it was we're in love just because. Ooh, you know.
Yeah, it was a growing. It's two people who were caught up in the middle of probably one of the worst circumstances ever, and not knowing where their lives are going to go at this point. It's like we really are forced into this me and you against the world thing.
Yeah, and like I said, the imagery as they grow as characters is great, and I think that's where the movie you kind of see. Like I didn't want to believe it, but like I said, thinking it, like it took me a minute to kind of really. I had to let it marinate. That's probably why we didn't like off the break do a review because I was like, I gotta let this marinate because I don't want to like gunshot and just be like, oh, do this, and it's like, no, let me think on this for a minute and stuff. And that's why I said it hit me that the movie felt more concerned about the imagery of what those characters represented than the actual story itself. So, so like I said, for the most part, I liked it. I think it was great. They did a pretty good job writing it and stuff. You could tell it was black people that wrote this, and that definitely didn't seem like no single white person wrote this shit. So that works.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I would definitely. Hey, if you can check it out, Queen and Slim. This is definitely worth the watch and stuff. You'll enjoy it. And I mean, hey, I would.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely recommend it. Definitely check it out.
Yeah. So, anyways, we will catch you guys later. Peace out.